Good morning. I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and I'm here to do another live cooking demo. Today I'm going to be making a soup, something I have not really made for this series of vegan health bundle demos. And the soup I'm making today is not from my own cookbook. This is from a cookbook called Plentiful Fare by Donna Spencer. And her cookbook is actually Italian. Plant, uh, plentiful fare with Italian flair. So anyway, the recipe is for creamy zucchini. She calls it zucchini creamless soup, but we're going to make ours creamy. So can you all hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up or say if you can hear me. I'm sure if you couldn't hear me, you'd be telling me that too. So I want to just make sure I've tested the sound, but I always like to start with maybe and making sure that you can really hear me. And I'm going to turn my burner on. Come on, burner. Well, there it goes. It's like it didn't want to come on. Okay, everyone can hear me. I like this soup because we get a lot of really nice zucchini around here. So like right now, I'm seeing a lot of organic zucchini in the store and it's very tender skin and it looks good. So I see that all the time at our grocery store. Zucchini's plentiful in Texas. And we try to grow it every year, but we have these certain kind of bugs. I can't remember what they're called, but they eat up the zucchini plants. They're squash bugs, and they kind of go inside the vines of the zucchini and eat them up and ruin them. So we don't have a very long time. Janet says, "Good morning. This sounds so good." Great, Janet. I'm going to make your travel soup pretty soon in one of my videos. I've got my rice cooker that also serves as a soup maker. It came in from Amazon, and I have your recipe from your ebook. So I'm going to go live probably tomorrow, this weekend, when I have time. Squash borer. Yes, that's the one. They get it every time. Okay, we're going to start with some onion, and we're going to get them in started before we dice up our potatoes. It calls for 2 cups of onions. And I know from my onions that that's probably a whole onion if it's small. And these are kind of on the smaller side. So we're not going to go crazy measuring the exact amount of onion. I'm just going to use these 2 halves of onion because that's just a good guesstimate. And it'll be fine. And I have my scrap bowl here. I'll probably dump it today. I usually collect stuff for a couple of days. And then when it gets full, I take it out to the garden and put it in the compost bin. And last year I made a lot of compost. And then I'm just going to cut these onions along the natural lines on the onions. Hi, Ann. Hi, Leanne. Hi, Patricia. Ready to cook this soup. Bloomin' J in Utah. I've been enjoying watching your replays. Glad to be here live. Thank you. I lived in Utah. I don't know if any of you know that, but in 1982, I got assigned to Hill Air Force Base in Utah. And at that time, I was working on my graduate degree. And the place I got accepted was the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. So for 2 years, I went to graduate school at the University of Utah. And I lived in Ogden, so it was like an hour commute. And let's see, T.S. Gale says, "Good morning, everyone listening while grocery shopping. Just bought zucchini from Costco, going to make this great." So Salt Lake City, Utah was quite a hike from Ogden. And the thing about that, too, is Utah was very, very cold in the winter, and we had a lot of snow. And I remember how I was with a carpool of people, and we were all from Ogden. And we made it to class when there was a really bad storm the night before. And, a lot of people were late getting to places and different things. So, but we made it. So everybody kind of laughed and they said, "Well, the people that drove all the way from Ogden made it to class, but some of the people that lived locally in Salt Lake City, they didn't make it to class." And so the teacher was kind of like, "How come these people that live out of town made it here, but you guys didn't, so it was funny. Okay, I got my onions in here. Janet said, thank you. Were you able to access the video? Uh, I'm not sure what video you mean, but I have your recipe and I have the pot, so I think I can go from there and make it just fine. Okay, we're going to let these onions cook a little bit. I've been perusing the written stuff so far, but I'll let you know. Okay, we will continue making this. Anne says it's cold in Michigan, so it's good soup weather. Jill says, I just watched the replay for your chili and you asked who wanted tomato or zucchini soup. I'm glad you're doing the zucchini soup. Yeah, I will also make the tomato soup. I just couldn't make it all today. So let's peel our potatoes because we're going to get these in pretty soon. But we're going to get the onions in here. And let me go ahead and get the garlic in. Why not? It calls for, let's see, 2 cloves of garlic. She talks about confit garlic, mashed or fresh garlic. And this is from Donna Spencer, and her book is Italian. It's called Plentiful Fare with Italian Flair. So if you want a bunch of Italian recipes, be sure and get the bundle for one thing, because this ebook is one of 83 pieces of material in the bundle. And, there's all these different ethnic cookbooks and different options that you can get in this bundle. And hers was one of many. And I liked a lot of the recipes in there. In fact, I went through it again and I saw some really good pasta recipes. And I make pasta, I make all kinds of pasta myself. So I'm not a stranger to pasta. So I'm going to put my link here, speaking of the bundle. So if you haven't gotten it, be sure and get it. I put the link in the comments because it's going to go away. And I know what happens every year is people say, oh, I'll get it. I got plenty of time. And then they forget. And then the last day comes and goes. And then every time the next day after it's over, I'll get these messages, several of them. And they'll say, oh, I got busy and forgot to get the bundle. Can I still get it? Because they're thinking it's only been a day. It must still be out there. But it's very strict. Once it's done, once the 10 days are up, they really don't ever release that bundle again. And you can see my onions are really coming along. They're just cooking. They're very lightly brown. You don't want any kind of dark brown because that releases acrylamides, and that's a substance you don't want to be creating in your food. So just a very light brown is all we're after. So I'm going to show you from time to time how it's looking. Marzi says, I finally got the bundle using your link. I'm trying to decide which device to download it on. I don't have a computer anymore. Using an iPad and phone. So a lot of people download it to their iPad. So maybe look at that into their iPad. So look into doing that. Jill says, I've been watching all your videos this week. Thank you for all the videos you were posting. Great. I'm glad you're watching. Okay, I'm peeling this russet potato. Janet, put it on more than one. You get 10 downloads. Yeah, Janet, that's a good point. Janet's in the bundle. Janet Ricky, who's watching, she's the plant-powered peddler. She's a bicycle rider, and she has a travel ebook. And her ebook is really good. You guys, you need to get the bundle and read her ebook. It's worth the price of the bundle because she has all kinds of really good advice for traveling anywhere. And the thing that I see with people is they do really well as long as they're on their home turf. But then as soon as they go somewhere, I'm going to add a little water, add a little broth to my onions so that they don't over brown. This stove is really hot. So, but Janet has such good ideas because people tend to think that if they're not at home, that's an excuse to eat whatever is available. And they have an expression, and I've used it before too. Oh, I'll just do the best I can. And then you go to a vegan diner, and the best you can is plain salad with nothing on it. And here everybody's eating, plant-based burgers that look really good to you. They have plant-based cheese, and they're in buns, and they're eating potato salad. I'm just talking about the vegan diner I go to. So it's kind of hard to just say, oh, well, I'll do the best I can. I'll eat a salad. I forgot to bring my dressing. And so guess what happens? Like what's happened to me many times is I end up eating the veggie burger. And the veggie burger has oil and it has plant-based cheese and it may have a little veganese and I'm going to wash my potatoes. It may have uh, plant-based bacon. I'm being honest with you. I've eaten those things many times. And that's when I used to be a lot heavier because I wouldn't resist those things. So, uh, Janet's book is really good. Okay, Leanne says three after 3 years of caregiving, we are free to travel now. Um, Janet has so many great ideas, as do many of the contributions. Yes, thank you, Leanne, because she is on the go a lot, and she's taken all her stuff on a bicycle. So her ideas are great, and also not just that, she lives off of food that she gets in the grocery store. So in that case, if she can live on the road from a bicycle and rely on grocery store food to make herself raw foods and salads and quick things, and she had some good cooking supplies in her ebook about things like I bought the cutest thing. I'll show you when I do the demo. It's a tiny little rice cooker, and it's like that big, and it's lightweight. And you can make rice in it, which I love because I love rice, but you could also make soup in it. You can make, noodles in it. You can make any kind of cooked food, or you can heat stuff up in it. So that's the thing. You can't travel and expect to always have a kitchen where you travel. I'm putting these 2 potatoes in here along with the onions. You can't travel and expect to find a kitchen in every place you stay. A lot of times you stay in a hotel room, and that's all you have. So there's not going to be a kitchen. So you might have to figure out what you're going to eat. And we found that when I did the Camino Santiago, and I walked from Portugal to Spain with friends, and I was the only plant-based person. And we would eat at restaurants, and a lot of the restaurants, the only thing I could eat at the restaurant was salad. And maybe sometimes they had some kind of hummus, but not always. They didn't always have hummus. I should tell you what I'm doing with the potatoes. I cut them in half, and then I cut them into 2 slices, and then I cut them into cubes. And one thing is always cut with the food flat on your cutting board. I do not ever want to see anybody cutting from their hand like our grandmas did with a knife, and you hold everything in your hand and cut it through your hand. Too many hand injuries happen from holding food in your hand and cutting it. When I had a wrist injury, when I had a wrist injury a few years ago, from falling off of a box at CrossFit, which I quit going to. The funny thing was when I went to physical therapy after my surgery, the physical therapist said one of the number one things they see were hand injuries that people, cut through their tendons or whatever. And it was from that trick where people will hold an avocado in their hand and then they slap it with their knife to pull the seed out. Well, they miss and they cut themselves. Well, I've never done that anyway, but I tell people do not do that. They think it looks cool because they saw some chef do it. So yeah, anyway, what I admire about Janet Ricky and her book, but I was on her show. You can watch us on Instagram. Go to Plant Powered Peddler and you can see her show, is that she does not make excuses, okay? So she is not making excuses. I have to hear so many people making excuses. Well, I was out with my friends and the lunch was fish with potatoes, and I didn't want to embarrass anybody, so I just ate it. And I just kind of pushed the fish around and ate the side dishes. And, Janet's the one who says, well, I've got some potatoes in my purse and some of my own food, and I'll just slap that on my plate and, supplement the salad here. Don't bring me the other stuff. So she's got guts. Angie says they call that avocado hand at our hospital. And somebody else said they cut their thumb tendon washing a glass. So I cut the I that severed the tendon to my thumb when I fell and broke my wrist off of a CrossFit box. I was doing some kind of box jump and fell backwards. So I had to have surgery to connect a new tendon from my index finger to my thumb. And then I had to hold my hand in a cast in this real awkward position for weeks. It was so miserable. I never want to do that again. Okay, so I've got potatoes and garlic and onions, and now I'm going to add the zucchini. And she says to use three medium zucchini or 5 cups. So I like the fact that she uses cup measurement too. And because a lot of times people will say, oh, an onion or a zucchini or a whatever, well, or a tomato. Well, in Texas, everything is Texas sized here. So we have gigantic vegetables. So I always say, give an amount. Christy says, I severed the tendon under my thumb. I had to wear the same type of splint. Not fun. It's a real awkward angle and it's uncomfortable. All right, so I'm going to cut the top and bottom off the zucchini. And I'm going to see how much one zucchini makes. So see what I do? I cut it in half and then I lay those halves flat. Because you always want to cut things when they're flat. If they're rolling around, the chances of you cutting yourself are greater. And then I hold my knife at the end of the knife. I don't hold it like this because you don't have as much control. So I grab the kind of the back end of the knife. And then I'm just going to cut this into little cubes. And I'm going to just, keep my hands out of the way. You'll notice that chefs always keep their hands and their thumb behind the blade of the knife. And that's kind of the knife skill thing that you learn when you're a chef, that you cannot do anything fast if you're just doing one slice at a time. And you always have to keep your fingers out of the way. And then we just line everything up. Then keep your fingers out of the way. Whoops, that one kind of stuck. And then keep your fingers back, and then you can cut really fast. I could cut a lot faster than this, but it would be really noisy. So we're not going to do the click, 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 noisy knife skills because I don't think you enjoy hearing that. Okay, so that one zucchini made a cup, a heaping cup, and she said you wanted zucchini 5 cups. So we're going to have to use all of this zucchini. And I'm going to go ahead and put the broth in here as I add my zucchini. So it calls for 3 cups of vegetable broth. And I have that in this container here. And I've been doing the same vegetable broth. Let me turn this up a little bit. I've been doing that same version of vegetable broth all week. And it is better than bouillon, just a small amount, like half a teaspoon for every 2 cups. So it's not too much sodium in it. But the best thing to do is make your own veggie broth, okay? That's really the best thing to do. And just take vegetable scraps or just take some onions, carrots, and celery and bring them to a boil and simmer them and add some parsley. And then you can also add some green lentils. That's the Forks Over Knives recipe. And they add green lentils, and something about the green lentils enriches the broth, and it makes it taste really good. Christy said, I severed the tendon under my thumb. I had to wear the same amount. I already saw that. Good morning. Lydia, hello again, Lydia. So Leanne says, I finally have a cutting board. Stitches are painful. Yeah, a lot of people used to cut. Marzi says she used to cut with a paring knife and had calluses on her thumb. Now she uses the cutting board. Yep. You can really, that was the way our families did it. And they cut everything with a great big knife out of their hand. And I that's the way I learned. And I can do that really well. I can take anything and cut it. I can peel an apple in one piece, holding it in my hand just like that without any trouble. Not that I do that anymore, but I can. They discouraged that greatly in culinary school. In fact, they told us not to do it. Of course, we did it anyway, some of us. But what I learned when I went to culinary school, I was 54. I was like the oldest person in the school, in the class. We had like 20-year-olds and some 30 and 40-year-olds. But it was my second career, so I was older, but I had been cooking since I was like 10. So I knew a lot of basic cooking skills. I knew how to do pretty much everything, okay, but not the way they did it. So the younger students cracked me up because they didn't know how to do basic stuff. So they were always asking me things like, whispering to me, how do you boil an egg? How do you peel an apple? How do you do whatever? And it would be like real simple stuff, but, they didn't have, you know, 45 years of cooking for people under their belt. So I had a big advantage, I think, because I already cooked for my family all those years. Lydia says, I'm going to miss these lives when the bundle is over. Oh, my goodness. That's good to know that somebody's really appreciating me coming in here and cooking food every morning. I've still been doing my usual routine. Like I went out and walked for an hour with my friends. I lifted weights at the gym last night before I came back and did another cooking video. So I've been keeping up with stuff. My house is kind of messy. This room is pretty messy where I've been doing the cooking demos because, you can only clean up so much. I have a bunch of stuff out. Toshi, I spilled some zucchini. I think zucchini's safe for dogs to eat. Okay. Christy says, me too. I'm looking forward to this every AM. Wow. You guys crack me up. We have 3 more days after today. Plant Powered Peddler Janet says, me too. Well, Janet, you're going to be excited when I make your recipe. I guess I need to do that tomorrow morning, bright and early. Like I might do a 9 o'clock demo tomorrow morning and a 10 o'clock. And the 9 o'clock one, I'll do Janet's travel soup. I haven't put that. Let me write that down so I'll put it on my calendar. My calendar is very full. Okay, 9 o'clock Saturday, travel soup. So the rest of today, I'm going to be on Chef AJ today at, I think it's 1 o'clock. So I'll be on the Chef AJ show, and then I'm going to make Tim Kaufman's curry quinoa burgers at 6 o'clock. And they look really good. I haven't made them, but they look delicious. So I'll be doing that in addition to this one today. And then tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I'm going to make the Korean japchae, Korean noodles. And that recipe, don't miss it because that's a really good one. And then in the evening, I'm going to make pistachio energy balls. I think those are one of my most popular recipes. Okay, so we've got the potatoes, the zucchini. We've got all that in here. And we've got our vegetable broth, and we're going to bring this to a boil. So I've got the main ingredients in here. I just need to add some of the seasonings. Jamie says, Bloom and Joy says, I'm going to miss these also. You have a calm and soothing way about you. Oh, that's nice to hear. I like that. I love watching your videos. I miss your Facebook Lives. Your life is interesting. I like hearing all your stories. Great. I was wondering how you had time to walk, shop, cook every day, keep house and garden, even with a husband. Yeah, it's been, it's hectic. My life is pretty hectic. Janet says, you being on every day is worth the price of the bundle right now. $49 for lives with Julia all week and 83 contributions from 50 creators. Hey, that's a good point. I haven't been doing a lot of Facebook or YouTube videos lately because they require a lot of editing. Here's the bundle link in case you didn't see it at the beginning. But I haven't been doing those Facebook videos lately because, quite frankly, I was just kind of out of the loop for a while. Okay, so I'm bringing this to a nice boil before I simmer it. It doesn't have a lot of juice. I'll show it to you. It's I'm not sure if we need to add more veggie broth to it because there's not very much juice, but zucchini is a very wet vegetable. So maybe the zucchini will be okay, but let's add our other ingredients and then we'll see what happens at the end. We are also adding 1.5 cups of plant milk. So that may boost up the liquid content. And then what we'll do is we'll use one of those blenders, immersion blenders. Okay, 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. 2, 3. And then we're going to put in a fourth of a teaspoon each of rosemary, thyme, and ground celery. Well, I don't have all of those things, so I'm going to use a teaspoon of my seasoning blend, that Kirkland Costco variety seasoning blend, because I looked on the label and it has all those ingredients plus a few more, and I think that will be fine. And then I have the 3 cups of vegetable broth. It calls for a tablespoon of Bragg's. Let me get back to you guys. It calls for a tablespoon of Bragg's aminos, just the liquid aminos. And I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use, it says, what is that? A tablespoon. A tablespoon of Bragg's aminos has about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. So I'm not going to do that. Leanne says there's a list of live events on the bundle page. Yeah, I don't put my events on there because they're subject to change. Okay, so then I'm going to put a teaspoon of low sodium soy sauce because that only has about 200 milligrams of sodium. So the soy sauce actually has less sodium than the Bragg's aminos. So that's why I'm using the soy sauce. And plus, I like the taste of it. But if you want Bragg's aminos, use it, but don't use a tablespoon. Maybe use a half a tablespoon. Plant Power Peddler, that is so true. Thank you. Janet is a hardworking person. She has worked tirelessly. Like she goes out on the road with her basic, phone as a camera, and she takes the time to videotape all of her stuff. Like she's really excited about, here's what we found to eat. Here's what we're making. Here's how we made it. She's trying to help people by doing that. She's not just doing it because she's a poser, an influencer, somebody who wears low-cut blouses and says, oh, hello, today we're going to make, something that isn't even very good, but you're going to watch me because I have, a nice body. We're the older generation that are doing this. We're not like that. We're just kind of like more no nonsense. We just want to share information with you. We want to, I don't care if I have 100 million followers or whatever. That doesn't really mean anything to me at this stage in my life. I just want the people around me to be happy, my family especially. If I'm doing something good for the community, great, that makes me feel good. But I laugh when I see a lot of people making their recipes online, and I think, well, I can tell by the ingredients it's probably not going to work, but okay. I have my sweet orange tea here. It's decaf, wild sweet orange tea, and I put a little bit of date syrup in it, and it makes it good. Okay, someone wanted to know, we have cornstarch, but we're not going to put that in until we put in the plant milk. So somebody wanted to know, what plant milk do I use? Well, she says to use a creamy plant-based milk. Well, all the times that I make stuff with plant milk, I just like to use cashews. Because what I found is in soups and things that are savory, almond milk tends to be a little sweet. And it leaves a kind of a cloying taste. So I like the cashew milk. So I'm going to take my cup of cashews. I've been soaking them for a little while. And I soak them in hot water, like boiling hot water. And that makes them blend up really well. So I have what's called a hot water boiler. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to put a lid on the pot and let it simmer away. A hot water boiler is like the Japanese use these a lot. They're an electric device, and you put like a gallon of water in it, and it heats it to a certain temperature, like 208 degrees. And then you always have instant boiling water. Well, I have that on my counter, and I use that, so I always have hot water handy. This is the whole cashews. I get them from Costco. Make sure they're unsalted and unroasted. I'm going to be using my Beast blender back here. The Beast blender is a small blender, and I learned about it from Kathy Hester because she used it a lot for Ninja Creamy stuff. She's the Ninja Creamy queen, and this was such an easy way to make Ninja Creamy things. Let's see. Janet from Plant Powered Peddler is heading to Death Valley tomorrow, and she's taking you all with me. Oh, so she's going to keep listening. Terry says, joining late, I agree about the cashew milk. No off taste in the soup. Yeah, I just found out over time that I tried soy milk. I tried all these different kind of plant milks, and they would always have kind of, to me, a strange taste. That's what I called it. Okay, I'm going to put a half a cup of water. Well, here I'll put 3/4 of a cup of water, make it a little bit more liquid. Usually I make cashew cream, and I use cashew cream as a base for dressings and all kinds of things. Okay, so the Beast blender is you put the ingredients in your blender and you add your water, you add the screw on the cap, and then you turn it upside down, and then it goes into the machine. It's going to be noisy for a minute, and you twist it so it's nice and secure, and you hit the button. I won't talk for now. Okay, it takes a while. So we have our cashew cream, and then be sure when you get your Beast, if you get a Beast blender, and I have that on my Amazon store, it's probably in my favorite cooking supplies, but I can definitely add it to the bundle store. So you want to get all the cashew cream off of here. I put cashew cream in some hot soup and it curdled. Well, I've never had that happen. Maybe wait, don't put it in when the soup is really hot. I don't know what to tell you. I've never had that happen. Where did you get your coffee cup? You know what? I believe I ordered it on Amazon, but then when I went back to try to find another one, I couldn't find it. So be sure if you're looking, make sure it's a large one, because I ordered another one thinking it was the same and it was smaller. So I don't really know what to tell you now. Sometimes things are on Amazon and disappear. Anyway, this tool is just for the Beast, and it has a kind of a little uh, V-shaped part so that the inside of the Beast has ridges, so it kind of gets through the ridges. What would love to know what you can use cashew cream for. Oh, freeze it in little containers because this is your salad dressing. Really, all you have to do is squeeze some fresh lemon in there and put some garlic and pepper and paprika and, you know, anything you like, lemon pepper, any seasoning you want. You can put in cashew cream with some lemon or lime, and then you have a delicious salad dressing just like that. Any kind of spices. So what I'm doing is I'm testing the soup. So how do you know when it's ready? You know, you can go by her time frame. She says 20 minutes, which isn't very long to make a soup. And I'll show you the progress the soup has taken because it looks really good. It does have more moisture than I thought it did. So remember I said it didn't look like it had very much moisture, but it really does. It's kind of because zucchini has a lot of water in it. So I'm going to take out some zucchini and potatoes and put them on my cutting board. And you see the rate that I have this simmering. It's kind of at a pretty good simmer because I don't want to take all day to make this. So, you know, I'm making it at a pretty high simmer. It's not just sitting there without making any bubbles. So I have here a piece of zucchini and a piece of potato. And I'm going to taste the zucchini. The zucchini is pretty soft, but it still has a little bit of a bite to it. And then this one, so if I try to mash these things up, they mash up pretty well on my cutting board. See how it just kind of all mashes, but the skin of the zucchini is a little slow to mash up. So we'll give it just a tiny bit more time. But that's how I test my soup, is go in and take things out just a little bit, not a whole bunch. You don't need a whole bowl full. Just take out a few of the ingredients that you're checking on to see if they're cooking. And then because a lot of times people just follow the recipe, and the recipe will say, do this for this amount of time, and you do that for that amount of time, and it's not done. And you're like, but the recipe said it would be done in 20 minutes, and then you have undercooked potatoes or something. And also, you saw how small I cut the potatoes up. So be sure and cut your potatoes small. Okay, that tool is essential to the beast. Anchor Hawking makes this mug style. I also find them at hit and miss at dollar store of all places. Yeah, it's a very cheap cup. There's not much to it. I just like it because I can see the color of the tea. And one of my kids gave it to me, I think. I don't remember which one. Sometimes I get random gifts and then I don't remember. I have 4 kids, 3 left, and 4 grandchildren. And at Christmas or something, they all give me different things. Okay, and I wanted to show you my immersion blender. So what we're going to do here very quickly, once we add the rest of the ingredients, is we're going to use our immersion blender. And I'll show you how we use that. These things are invaluable for soups because they save you the hassle of having to take your soup out, put it in a blender, blend it, and mess around with it. That's a pain in the butt. I hate to do that. And it's kind of hot and messy. Sam says, I found a huge, large cup at ShopRite. I've never heard of ShopRite. That must not be a Texas store. Okay, so I think we're probably good to add the rest of our ingredients. I'm going to turn it down to low. And so that now it says, after everything's tender, fork tender, which it is, 20 minutes, remove from heat and use an immersion blender or blend in batches until smooth. Okay, so we're not going to take it off. We're going to use our immersion blender. Let me move some of these things out of the way so it doesn't look so messy in here. Remember to keep your work area clean. It just is better all around if you do that. Okay, so you're going to watch me use the immersion blender, and I'm going to plug it in. And when you use these, be sure your burner's turned off. And the thing is, you don't want to go up and down with it because it will splash. So sometimes what I do is I tilt the pan so I have a deep area, and the motion is supposed to be up and down, but inside the food. So I'm just going to keep gently going up and down, a little splashed on me. But if you break the surface of the soup, then what will happen is it will splash on you. So we don't want to do that. We don't want hot soup splashed in your face. And it takes a while because you have to get all of it. So you have to be patient. But this is a lot easier than doing the thing. And I still see some in there. I'm just going to target the ones I see that didn't make it by going around and getting them. But that looks really good. I'm going to make one final run, tilting the pan over so I get the depth. If I see any little ones, I'll get them. So I've got it. And now to do a test on this, I'm sorry about the noise, guys, but can't really help it with an immersion blender. And so the test of this is I then can taste it and see if it's lumpy. No, it's perfect. Ooh, that tastes really good. That is delicious. I'm going to put this in the sink. Let's get me back here. Yum. That is wonderful. Okay. So Gail says she uses her immersion blender a lot. All right. So the color of the soup now is very kind of a medium green. It doesn't have any plant milk in it yet. So here, let me let you see this so you'll see the difference. Okay, so right now it's kind of a medium green and it's very blended. It's all smooth. There's no lumps, and that's what you want, but it doesn't have to be like so smooth it's like a baby food puree. You know, if it has a few little pieces of potato or zucchini in it, it's not going to hurt anything. But it tastes wonderful. So she says a cup and a half of plant milk. So I've got probably, I'm going to put what I have in this container, which is probably about that much. And I'm not going to scrape all of it out. Well, I guess I can. It's not going to hurt anything. So I say this is about a cup and a half of the plant milk. And if you don't want, you don't have to put this much in. You can always say, oh, that's too much. I don't want to have it that rich and creamy. Whoever said they didn't want something to be rich and creamy, right? See, now that turns it into a much lighter soup. So it was kind of a muddy green, and now it's a kind of a light pale green. Right? So that's a pretty color. That's a very lovely soup, and I bet it will have a little different flavor profile. Oh my goodness. You guys, this soup is really good. It is absolutely delicious. I think it could use a little hint of some salt. I would put a little salt in it. I don't have any salt with me. But what you could do is you could put the salt in it. You can put the salt in it when you eat it, like, you know, don't add it now because it doesn't need it. And now cornstarch. Okay, she says to put a teaspoon of cornstarch. I'm not going to put cornstarch in it because it doesn't need it. It's very thick as it is. Cornstarch would not improve it in any way. So I see no reason to add something to it that it doesn't need. It's already thick. I don't want it to be artificially thick and have something in it that it doesn't need. And let's see, I brought a bowl in. So I think it's perfect the way it is. TS says, I put my semi-pureed soups in a mug and drink it. Yeah, you could. Janet, you can make the soup in your little soup pot on your pedaling trips. All you have to do is put some zucchini and potatoes in your already delicious travel soup and cook it in your soup setting. And you don't have to blend it up because you're not going to blend. Probably you don't have a blender with you. If you did, you could blend it up. If not, all you have to do is just use these ingredients and get some plant milk, because you go to grocery stores, you can get some shelf-stable cashew milk, add a little bit to it to make it creamy, and you'd have this delicious soup on your trip. And then it does have some rosemary, thyme, and other kind of herbs in it. So I don't see anything wrong with, if you were serving it to your friends, if you put a little rosemary leaf on it. But then take it off when they eat it. You don't keep it in there. And then you could put some freshly ground pepper. I think I would like a little heat, so I might put some red chili flakes on it. Like I always keep those around. And again, you know, I think it would benefit from a pinch or a little grind of sea salt. Just a little bit. Not much. But without it, it tastes really good. Do you need to dilute your cashew cream to a milk consistency after blending? No, because I put a cup of cashews in 3/4 of a cup of water. So it was a thick cashew creamy mixture, and I think that's why the soup is a little thicker. And I like it like that. That's how I like it. If your milk was milkier and not as thick, you probably wouldn't need the cornstarch. So I'll leave that up to you. I try not to use cornstarch if I don't have to, because that's just not my thing, to use cornstarch. And then the other thing is, it looks like in her picture she has croutons on it. In her picture in her cookbook, she has little herbs and a crouton. So what I did was I got some of my sourdough French bread out that I made recently. This is my one of my efforts at making sourdough bread, and it's mostly whole wheat, so it's really good. And so what I could do is I could cut this into little cubes and put it in the air fryer and have myself a nice little serving of croutons. I can make little croutons, but what I would probably do instead is just make myself a piece of sourdough toast and put on it. Janet said I could make it on a hub and spoke ride like this Death Valley trip. I will have the blender. Okay, great. So I hope you make it. Just remember, it's nothing more than some fresh zucchinis and potatoes are the main ingredient, and onions and garlic, and then vegetable stock. So, and it tastes really good. I mean, I'm very impressed with how delicious it is. I think zucchini is very mild, so you don't taste the zucchini, but you know it's in there because it's green. And then you taste the potato because potato soup is delicious. And then it has the nutritional yeast and some of the nice fresh herbs. This is really a delicious soup. The sourdough bread is also good. I'll get you a close-up of it so you can see it. You really can't go wrong. Somebody said, wouldn't this be great? Here's my bread. Love my bread. Wouldn't this be a great thing to have for St. Patrick's Day? Yes. You know, a nice green soup. It's kind of a light green. So if you wanted it to be darker green, you'd probably have to change it up and put spinach in it. So that would change the flavor. The zucchini makes it good. And especially, you know, when this time of year hits, when spring hits, the stores are full of zucchini, like local zucchini, and farm stands have zucchini. If you can get it before they let it get big, you know, especially baby zucchini or fresh zucchini from your own garden, this will taste a lot better because when zucchini gets old, it kind of doesn't taste as good. It has kind of a tough exterior. Do you think miso might be a good choice for the salt? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. We could use our dry miso powder and we could sprinkle a little bit of that on it because that is very salt-like. And we could also use miso nooch. You know, I've been keeping that around for you to see. I don't have any handy. So you could use the miso nooch, the miso powder, anything if you want it to have a little bit more of a salty taste. But the more I taste it, the more I think it tastes fine the way it is. It really, you know, it has a little bit of sodium from the vegetable broth. And I think what else had salt? And the nutritional yeast gives it kind of that umami flavor. Okay, so Leanne says, your bread always looks enticing. Sourdough is a favorite. Yeah, this isn't even one of my better loaves. It was in the freezer. I have a bunch of them in the freezer. But it has such a good smell. And that's my next project. As soon as the bundle is over, I'm going to start making my bread again. And then my plan is to have my friend Nancy, who films my videos, come over and do a video of me making the bread. Okay, Terry says, I'm getting some new information from you. Thank you. Glad you're back doing these lives. Great. Well, thanks for watching. And here's the bundle link again. Remember, the bundle is 83 pieces of content worth $5,500 for $49, and it's over on Monday. So you'll get all these people's recipes. Like this one was from an Italian cookbook. And I was talking to you about Janet's. Janet is the plant-based peddler. She has wonderful, wonderful hints about how to eat when you're away from home. And that is the number one thing I think that stumps people and that keeps them from ever losing all their weight. Because I know so many people that do well at home and they eat well at home, but then they go on a trip or they go out to dinner or they go hang out with friends at lunchtime or they go shopping. And at any of those situations, they just don't know what to choose. And I think, you know, I've got a travel class I did a couple years ago where we went over all that stuff, and I never leave the house without food. And she said that in her book too. It cracked me up. I think she said, even if she's just leaving the house to go to the store, she takes food with her. She takes food everywhere. And not just salad dressing. She takes like a potato or something substantial. Okay, Patricia says, my daughter is coming over tomorrow to help me organize my bundle on my computer. Yay, excited. Good. So you guys, thank you for watching. I've got to go get ready to be on Chef AJ in a couple hours. I'm going to make my Snickers date bars ahead, and then I'm going to make some on her show so that I can get them done, but have some that are already made. That's going to take me a little while, so I've got to hustle and do that. And I'm definitely going to have this delicious soup for my lunch. I can't wait to eat it. It's so good. And if you don't want it quite as thick and creamy, just use half the amount of cashew milk or whatever you want to do. You don't even have to put the milk in it. You could eat it without plant milk and it still tasted good, and it was greener. So Elizabeth says, another fantastic live. Always enjoy your videos. Thank you. You're really going to like the one tonight with the quinoa curry burger from Tim Kaufman. I'm looking forward to having that for my dinner. So come back at 6 o'clock for that. And everybody watch Chef AJ today at 1 o'clock Central Time. Nutmeg Notebook is doing a video on that today or tomorrow. Okay, great. She likes his burger book too. So, and I'm going to do her cream cheese recipe maybe Sunday. She's got one on cream cheese and crackers. So I'm going to do something from her extensive book on dips and cream cheese and savory dips and sweet dips and guacamole. And she's got a lot of good recipes in her contribution too. So we'll see you all later today. Thank you for watching. And, you know, this soup is great. I can't believe I've never made a soup like this. And I've made so many kinds of soups, but not this one. And I really like it. So I hope you make it too. Bye, everybody.